girl, would you maybe want to pick me a book for this video idea? Hi, my name is Hannah. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. If you are new here, we are going to be reading this week and I'm so excited for this vlog that I have planned because I'm going to be reading, as you already know from the title of this video, I'm going to be reading my favourite YouTuber's favourite reads. And I'm so excited. I'm more excited now than I was 2 days ago when I picked up the first book, because this book has mixed reviews, specifically the first book in the series, and you will have definitely heard of it. It is in fact Red Rising by P.S. Brown. Yeah, I have the 10th anniversary edition, which is why it is gold and not red. But I didn't know that when I picked it up because I didn't know anything about the book. We are going to be reading Khalila's favourite book for the first book in this video. If you don't know Khalila, she is an unbelievable, beautiful, intelligent lady. She is honestly just a breath of fresh air. She's hilarious, she's fun, she reads a lot of diverse books. She reads books that I would probably never even have considered picking up before, but the same cannot be said for this one. I have definitely considered picking this up, and then as I was watching Khalila's backlog I realised how much she loves this series, and I dropped her a little message and I was like, hey girl, would you maybe want to pick me a book for this video idea? And she was like, obviously I'm going to be picking Red Rising, and I was like, yeah, of course you are. So this is the first book that we're going to read in this video, and I will read the blurb to you because I do not want to spoil a single thing. I don't even want to spoil anything for myself, so let's have a look. I would have lived in peace, but my enemies brought war. Darrow is a helldiver, a pioneer of Mars, born to slave beneath the earth so that one day future generations might live above it. He is a red, humankind's lowest caste, but he has something the golds, the ruthless ruling class, will never understand. He has a wife he worships, a family who give him strength, he has love, and when they take that from him, all that remains is revenge. So, I am 88 pages into this book. At first, when I read this blurb and I read the first couple of chapters, I was like, wow, this is hard. I thought it was extremely difficult to read at first. I have previously tried to listen to the audiobook because I couldn't get into it, and it's so different to sort of like the fantasy world building that I'm used to, or the cutesy little small town romances. It is not that whatsoever. We open this book and he's in a literal cage. No, he's not. At the start of this book, Darrow is mining on Mars in literally like the depths of this cave, and he's talking all about this machinery and the dangerousness of the caves and hell diving. He's this hell diver, basically. He's doing this job that takes so much guts and precision, and he's the best of his kind, and all of the hell divers die and all this. Yeah, that's the vibe that you get at the start of this book. I don't know why, but that was just like dull to me. I wasn't super interested in that, so yeah, it was difficult to get into, but I will say it probably started around chapter 4, chapter 5, and suddenly I was in. I was so in. Things got very heated very quickly. You just have to stick with it, and I think that like the way that the first few chapters bored me made it really hard for me to get there, but I got there and now I am definitely intrigued. And when I tell you, in like the past 30 pages, like, things have changed drastically, and I think I have seen a couple of people talk about more than what it says on this blurb, and I think it's probably important, like if you've ever thought about picking this book up, in order to get through the absolute dredges that is the first few chapters of this book, you do need to know that Darrow is not going to remain a red. In this world, we have the reds, we have the golds. They are like the complete opposite ends of the societal spectrum, in that reds are literally the slaves of Mars and the golds are the superiors. They are the people in charge, they have all the power. I will not tell you how, when, where, why, but this book, from what I'm understanding so far, is the creation of how we get Darrow out of the depths of slavery and into some other sort of status. I'm going to be switching between the audiobook and physical reading because that will help me read it quicker, and also the font is absolutely teeny tiny. Like, it's so small and I don't even think you can tell, but yeah, it's small and I work a lot, so definitely need to be listening to the audio at any point that I can't in order for us to get through this. So yeah, Red Rising, that's the first book that we're going to be reading in this video, and I will come back to you when I have some more thoughts. But just to recap, my initial thoughts are I'm definitely intrigued now. I feel like I'm definitely in the world. I see the potential of the wrath that could be upon us. Obviously it says that all that remains is revenge here, and I am super intrigued to see how Darrow is going to do that for us, and I hope it's entertaining. Yeah, book number 1, let's go. Good afternoon. We have made it 65% of the way through Red Rising, so I'm almost 2/3 of the way through. I was thinking about what I said to you last and realised that like it's extremely vague based on what is on the blurb here, and I know that other people have spoken about online that Red Rising is about Darrow rising through the ranks and going from being a slave to the best of the best, and this book is really like a journey of how he gets there in terms of like how the golds themselves pick out who is the best of the best, and essentially it's kind of like a fight to the death of if you really want this power then you need to earn it. And the way that that's done in this book, it's not dragged out, but I can see why some people might get a little bit bored throughout this, because it kind of feels very like trial-esque, which I don't think I was expecting. A huge part of it is Darrow's mindset and how he is going from thinking that he works as a pioneer of Mars to essentially make it habitable for people on Earth, and how he and his family play a huge role in making sure that that can happen in the future, to then becoming this all-powerful, knowledgeable ruler. And the mindset change and sort of like the growth within him that has to happen in order for him to be able to get there is definitely interesting. I do believe I've seen some people say that they find Darrow's character quite unlikable, but I feel kind of indifferent. Like, I'm not going to say I like him, but I can definitely understand what's happening in his head and how he's thinking. But there is one thing that feels a little bit absent. Like, the first third of the book had a entirely different cast of characters to what we have now throughout like the last third, and I'm just wondering if they're going to reappear. Like, I would say that they played quite a big role in the first third of the book, so where are they? Are we going to get them back? Not sure. I'm definitely in it. I'm intrigued, and right now I would say it's feeling like a 3.75 star read, but I do find that the writing's a little bit dry. Like, it's all very like dark and like a very like manly, like powerful sort of way. Does that make sense? And yeah, that's just sort of not really what I'm used to, and I don't know if it's just because there is just a huge lack of sort of like female representation and mindset in this book, and I read a lot of female authors, so Pierce Brown might be like the first male author that I've read from this whole year, potentially. Like, that's how much I don't read male authors, and I'm definitely sensing that in like the mood and the tone of this book. And I get that it's meant to be dark and sci-fi and all this sort of thing, but the way that that is sort of like impacting the book for me, I feel is quite obvious. But yeah, enjoying it wouldn't probably be the right word, but I'm definitely engaged enough to be intrigued about what's going to happen next. So I guess it's, you know, we've got a third left. Something has to happen, like something big has to happen in the last like 150 pages, surely, for the series to continue. And I think what I really want is like some more tension, like some more high stakes, because remember, Darrow's doing all of this in secret. Like, nobody knows that he's rising. Like, if they knew who he was, see you later, Darrow. Nice knowing you. Bye bye. So yeah, that's kind of what I want from the last 150 pages. Don't know if I'll get it, but see. We'll see. Hi guys, I'm just having my lunch, and I thought maybe I should tell you that I did in fact finish Red Rising last night. Where to start? Literally where to start. I don't even know how to feel. I think the last time we spoke, I was speaking about how much I needed from the ending in terms of sort of like reveals, twists, and potentially some sort of character comebacks. The character comebacks we didn't get, so we'll definitely be intrigued to see how and if they come back in the series, because it just seems that that's forgotten. See you later. Nice knowing you. That's the vibe for those characters, so bye. But we did get a few sort of like, do you know, like edge of your seat moments where you're thinking, oh my god, do they know? Like, is the secret about to be revealed? And is our main character in danger? All that sort of thing. We had betrayal instances, and the thing about sort of like the last 2/3 of this book is that like the actual plot line runs over such a long period of time that the creation of relationships between different characters just sort of goes through this whole time journey. You can imagine that these people that are trying to survive, trying to win, trying to be the best, they create enemies a lot of the time, they create really great friends and everything in between. So that was definitely sort of like a lot of the experience of the book, and these people are obviously trying to be the best of the best, so it was definitely interesting to see sort of what certain people would do to get there, what they were willing to sacrifice, and what that meant for their sanity as well. And yeah, I just feel like it's really hard to talk about this book without spoiling it, because the blurb gives nothing away and I don't want to give too much away. But I guess my review in terms of sort of like how things ended, how I felt like I experienced the book, and my thoughts on it, I would say that this book to me felt like a 3.5 star, because I can absolutely appreciate the journey that we went on, and the representation and themes that are carried throughout this book are definitely executed. I feel like the goal was met. I was specifically interested in like character bonding, so some of the relationships that our main character Darrow creates, I thought that they were really intriguing. I don't know, I think there is one thing that's worth saying, is that we speak about how Darrow is trying to go from the lowest of the low as a red to a gold, which is the highest of the high, and this book shows like only part of that journey. It's almost like this book is like step one, so I'm definitely intrigued to see sort of like how high the stakes can go in the other books. But I don't know, I think it would be interesting actually to go back and have a look at Khalila's review, because that's why we read this book, because Khalila loves the series. But this book specifically is not considered the best in the series, so it would be interesting to go back and see how Khalila felt about it. Because yeah, definitely not like a 5-star favourite, but can definitely appreciate the setup and the potential for what's to come in the rest of the series. So that's that done. Now, I did in fact ask my partner to pick the next book that I was going to read. He didn't know I was doing this video, but I asked him to have a look at my October TBR and say, read that. So that's what he did, and we have 2 books left in this video. The one that he chose from my September TBR I can actually read in this video, and it is in fact Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. And if you haven't heard of this book or don't know anything about it, well, I'll tell you, but first let me tell you why I want to pick this up. So you might have heard of Beth Morvant. She is one of, like, definitely one of my favourite creators on YouTube. I think she's absolutely hilarious. If you follow her on Instagram, she is just pure entertainment, and the way her mind works just constantly makes me laugh. I find that when I'm watching her videos, I am literally laughing out loud. And I love the way she talks about the synopsis of different books. And yeah, I love her. And I did in fact message her, and I'm pretty sure, it was a while ago now, but I'm pretty sure she did recommend Jar of Hearts to me, because I said that I wanted something potentially to do with serial killers, and this book is in fact about a serial killer. So our main female character has an ex-boyfriend who has been found out to be a serial killer, and I believe the sort of premise and plot of this book is that he is coming for her. So he's killing people off one by one on his way to come and get his ex-girlfriend, which is our FMC. Doesn't that just sound a bit crazy? since I actually messaged Beth asking for a book recommendation, I'm pretty sure she's had this in a couple of recent videos, so if you want a better synopsis of this book, potentially go check out Beth's channel and see her thoughts and feelings and synopsis, because I'm not very good at that. But anyway, this is the next book that we'll be reading in this vlog. I haven't started it yet. We'll be reading it tonight and I'll let you know when I have some initial thoughts. Good morning. I did in fact start Jar of Hearts last night, and I think I got 114 pages in and I'm on chapter 13. And I don't really know what to say, because as per is the theme at the minute, we don't have a lot on the back that actually tells us what the first sort of like 100 pages of this book actually entails, which is frustrating, but was honestly sort of like surprising in terms of like I went into this and it just was not what I was expecting. So like, what is a spoiler? What is a spoiler? So on the back here it says 5 years ago Gio's first love was revealed as a terrifying serial killer, but we don't start this book at the 5-year point, like post finding out he's a serial killer, and like so many things could in the first 20 pages spoil what it says on the back of this book. So do I just tell you what they are, or do I not? I don't know. Let's just say we start off in the first 100 pages, we start off in a prison. We get a full like lived in prison experience, which I definitely wasn't expecting based on the back of this book, because what we know is that Gio's ex-boyfriend is a serial killer, and the back of the book essentially says that he's coming for her. Her serial killer ex-boyfriend is coming back for her. So tell me why at the start of this book we're in court and then we're in a prison. Like, that is just not the expectation that I had. So yeah, I feel like that is quite a vague way of not divulging to you exactly what's happening here, but saying that I was definitely surprised. But honestly, even within like the first 50 pages, I was gobsmacked at some of the things that happen. This book is dark. Some of the things that happen are very real, very disturbing, and disgustingly just like, oh, honestly, I was mouth agape last night reading it in bed. It was not cute, but also like this is shit that happens. So like, you can choose not to read this and obviously definitely check the trigger warnings, but maybe I sit in a fortunate position where I can read this and just be like, yep, awareness, we need to talk about the fact that this is shit that goes on. So yeah, with all that being said, 110 pages in, I am definitely hooked. I feel like I could sit and read this in one sitting. And also, can we just appreciate like how like wonderfully floppy this is? It's so nice to read, even in bed when I would usually prefer to read on my Kindle. This is really nice to read. So yeah, the vibes are definitely serial killer. Everyone's in bloody danger and getting lots of things that just I did not expect from the blurb. Might have to take a look at the Goodreads description, see if it differs to the blurb on the back of this book, and then maybe I'll give you some more info. But I would say so far, definitely pick this up. It's sitting at like a good like 4.25 right now. The writing is so easy and it's in third person, but honestly when I started reading it, it kind of felt as if you, like the narrator themselves was a character. That's sort of how it felt at the beginning, but I think that's because we end up getting multiple POVs. So I don't know how to describe it, but it was a very sort of like engaging style of writing to say that it's third person and that this narrator is not actually a character. It kind of felt that way at first. Anyway, I'm heading off to work and I'm hoping that tonight I can literally just bunk down and finish this, because I'm loving it, obsessed so far. And I want to be able to tell you so much, but honestly it's really hard with thrillers because you just don't want to spoil anything. Anyway, I'll speak to you guys soon. That is my sort of like third of the way through update. We'll let you know if I have some. I need to apologise because I didn't spend a lot of time talking to you about this book, but it's so hard to speak to you about thrillers without spoiling anything. So, to be honest, there's not much I can say else plot-wise, because then there's no way that anyone can read the book, because I've just spoiled it. So, did in fact finish this book on Saturday. It's now Monday morning. I took a little bit of a break. When I think about this book, I feel like the twists and the darkness are the sort of things that I was looking for when I wasn't feeling any sort of 5-star thriller feels. I find it really hard to find thrillers that make me like feel like they're unbelievable. We did obviously read The Goldens last month that I absolutely loved, but I'm not even sure if you could categorise that as a thriller, to be honest, because it's so lit fic drama that I'm not sure, but this is definitely a thriller. The plot did not go the way that I was expecting it to go, but it didn't even start the way that I was expecting it to in terms of what we get from the blurb, which I know I've already said. So then everything else after that, some things started to sort of like make sense, and I was like, right, yes, this is what I was expecting. And then things continued and I was like, well, this is not what I was expecting. So yeah, a little bit of a journey in terms of expectations of plot with Jar of Hearts. But my actual experience of reading the book, I would say that it was so easy to read, like such a page turner, and it was very melancholy and dark, but we did also get sort of, because most of the time in this book you spend with the female main character, even though it's not in first person perspective, but we spend most of our time with her, and like you get a lot of her inner thoughts and sort of like feelings and fear and things like that. And it all came across like extremely well. I don't think I would have liked it any more if it was first person, and I know that some people prefer first person, but I don't feel like it was necessary in this, and it read super easy. Couldn't put it down, to be honest, and the copy that I have from my sister is so nice and floppy. So it was just a really great reading experience. After reading Red Rising a lot on audio, I did in fact read every single word of this with my eyeballs, and I had a really great time. All of that being said, it's a solid 4-star. I wish that I liked it more, and it's frustrating because I feel like I was looking for those darker themes in books and like the serial killer vibe in order for me to enjoy them more, but it turns out you can put as much fucked up shit in this as you want, but it doesn't make it a fantastic book. So I'm still looking out there for my 5-star thriller reads, but this one was definitely a solid choice and I did really like it. I cannot iterate and tell you enough that you have to check trigger warnings before you read this book, because it is extremely dark, and a lot of the things that happen are very much on page. They took me off guard, and yeah, just be aware of that before you go in. But definitely enjoyed. Thank you, Beth, for this. But it's time for us to move on to our next book, and I feel like I'm having to intro these YouTubers. Our next YouTuber is someone that I think I found not necessarily recently, but more recently than Khalila and Beth, and that is Bree. I have binge watched every single one of her videos, and to me she was just like the perfect cozy vibe, and the way that she describes things is very much like they work for my brain. Like nothing is too complicated. I love the vibe and the coziness that is Bree. In terms of our book taste, I'm not sure how similar it is, but with the one that she's recommended to me and just the premise of it in itself, I'm definitely excited to give it a go. So Bree actually recommended to me You With a View by Jessica Joyce, and I haven't read anything from Jessica Joyce, so I'm definitely excited to dive in, and I haven't heard lots of people talk about this actually, so intrigued to be going in with not a lot of sort of expectation. The premise of this book, we have our main character Noelle, who lost her grandmother, and in the process of like going through some of her old things, she finds a letter. I think it's just a letter, and it is from like a past lover way back when, and I think there might be a picture as well, and she had an extremely close relationship with her grandmother, so she's so surprised to not ever have heard about this man, and even more surprised that her grandmother chose to keep this little trinket from whatever their story was. So with that information, Noelle goes onto TikTok and she makes a little post. She's like, please let me know if this is your like granddad or you know this man, because I feel like there's a story to be heard here and I would love to hear it, and I can't hear it from my grandmother because she passed away. And someone does in fact reach out and the story sort of goes from there. And I do think it does actually say more on the back here, but I think that the reason why I am really excited for this book is I have yapped on my TikTok channel about Bridges of Madison County, and if you haven't heard of this book, it is 180 pages of the most beautiful true love experience and then the worst heartbreak I've ever experienced. That book to me is perfection. I love every single word written in that book, and when I read the synopsis of this, it reminded me of that book and sort of like a different perspective on it. So I'm definitely excited to get into this because yeah, it just feels like a little bit of a nod to one of my favourite books, which makes me super happy. But I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to say anything more about Bridges. But yeah, I have actually started reading this and I also got it on my Kindle. Let me have a look for you how far in I got. So I'm on page 107, which is 29% in. So, you know, just under a third of the way through this book. And it is definitely easy to read. In terms of the vibes with the main male character, I'm definitely seeing it. Yes, I am. I'm seeing the attraction. This is kind of like a childhood rivals to lovers, because they were academically in competition when they were in school and they haven't seen each other for a really long time, and obviously this situation brings them back together and it just sort of like reignites that flame. So it's not necessarily a second chance romance, but it's like teetering on the edge of what could have been had they ever gone there. I'm eating it up, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm really excited for their love story as much as I am so immersed in the plot and hearing about the love story of her grandmother and the man that she was with. Don't want to say anything else, but yeah, this is going to be the third and final book that we read in this video. I'm hoping that I can get through it fairly quickly. The copy I actually got second hand on Vinted, so the spine is already cracked, so I feel like I can and that's fun, which is funny because I still got it on my Kindle anyway. So yeah, that is what we're going to be reading for the final book in this video. I will come back to you when I have some more thoughts and hopefully speak to you about it a little bit more than I did Jar of Hearts. Hello. I need to update you before I just fly through the end of this book without sort of giving my thoughts and feelings up until we get to like the third act. Every intention that was meant for this book in terms of like the vibe that the relationship was meant to give, their connection and like their past and their potential future, it's just all coming together and I'm having the most wonderful time reading it. I really like truly feel like their connection is so organic and it's just wonderful to read. I don't know why, but it is giving very much like soulmates, and I don't think that I've read many romances like that recently, but it's given me like Promise Me Sunshine, Ready or Not vibes by Cara Bastone. Like they are some of my favourite romance books and that's what this is giving. So super happy that this is the option that Bree chose for me, because I'm just like, I've got goosebumps just thinking about how much this story feels like really impactful. And it's, you know, it's so weird. So I was talking to you guys about Bridges of Madison County and how that is one of my favourite books of all time. It was actually recommended to me by one of my best friends, Phoebe, and we were talking about it today. Like I've seen her today for the first time in like 3 or 4 months, and we just had the most wonderful chat about like the meaning of literature in your life and like how it stays with you when you're impacted by certain books. And Bridges is one of those books where like you have to read it at the right time in your life for it to have like an absolutely insane impact. Like that's actually one thing I will say. If from what I've said about Bridges of Madison County, if you're going to pick it up based on my recommendation, I would just say be prepared that if you're not 100% content in your life, not even 100%, but like if you're having doubts or if you're feeling any sort of way about your relationship or your place in life right now, it will honestly rock your world. Like, that, it is crazy how impactful that book can be. And I don't know if I'm just like sat on all the emotion of that and like how much it means to me, and Phoebe being like one of my favourite people on the planet, giving me that recommendation, and then going into this book which reminds me so much of the premise of that, and then it also having all of that soulmate connection vibe. It's just, yeah, it's all a lot, and I'm feeling very emotional about it, but having the most wonderful time. And I've been very sort of like vague about, you know, thoughts and feelings, but in terms of like the actual plot, so I did actually just read up on the Goodreads synopsis so that I could make sure I wasn't spoiling anything. But it does tell you that they go on a road trip, which is actually the honeymoon that their grandparents would have taken if they had got married. So a little bit of a weird vibe there where, you know, if things could have been different, they might have been family. I do have to just say that, just in case that's going to weird anyone out, that could have been a thing. But obviously then they wouldn't exist because they have completely different parents, grandparents, etc, etc. So yeah, not actually weird, but could have been a very different life if that engagement had happened and they had been together for the rest of their lives. But obviously we know the ending. We know that the grandparents didn't end up together. They married different people, had children who then had them. So that's sort of like the context of their relationship. He is her grandma's ex's grandson. So yeah, and you know, there's just so many vibes in this book that, like, obviously the engagement didn't happen, but they're on this road trip that they had actually planned for their honeymoon, that they would be grandparents once upon a time. So they're actually doing this honeymoon like road trip around America, and it is stunning, beautiful, wonderful. I love books that travel, and I'm loving all the vibes and everything that they're getting from it, and all of like the soul searching that you do when you travel, like it's giving all of that as well. And yeah, I'm just obsessed. I'm obsessed with the plot. I'm obsessed with Paul, Grandad Paul, love you, you're great. I'm obsessed with their relationship as well. There was a point where I was thinking, have we gone too far physical when this could have been more emotional? But I don't think I am feeling that. Maybe I feel like it could be more interlinked on page, because I have no doubt that they are extremely emotionally linked, you know, off page, but on page I feel like I could have gotten a little bit more than that. But as of right now I'm 74% in, so I have about 110 pages left. I'm hoping that I can just peacefully read this for the rest of the night while my partner plays FIFA. And yeah, that's sort of the vibe and the update for now. This is post shower Hannah, just chilling, and you know, I had the most wonderful day off, and this is just, yeah, ending it great. So I'll speak to you guys when I finish the book with some final thoughts, but so far Bree's recommendation has been 10 out of 10, loving this. Hey, I'm losing my voice apparently. I have finished You the View. I believe my last update with you guys, I was talking about how I was just about to consume the end of this book and I wanted to give you a final update before the third act, and I wasn't like frustrated or anything with the third act. And I think that when you read lots of romance books, you can kind of like get that ache and get a little bit frustrated because there's only so many third acts that you can come across, and we know what to expect these days. But I think this one did okay, and I think as third acts go, it was sort of reasonable. They all had sort of like understandable reasoning for the reasons why the way that they were, and I really like the ending. I actually really like the epilogue, and I feel like a lot of people don't find epilogues sort of like useful or necessary, but I loved this one. And if you read it, the way that it happens, and yeah, I was obsessed. I really enjoyed the epilogue. I'm really glad that they put that in there just to sort of lighten up this journey and everything that they went through. This book is laced with grief, and it is a journey through a life that could have been, that didn't happen. And our female main character, she no longer has her grandmother, who was essentially her whole world. So yeah, definitely laced with grief, and it was really nice to see sort of like some light put onto what the world can be when you choose to move on and you try to find love and happiness. Really enjoyed this book, enjoyed the romance a lot, and I think that a lot of the things that happened were extremely organic. I think that I probably could have done with, like I said, a little bit more of a mix between that physical and emotional connection between the two main characters when we got to like the 50% to 75% mark. But other than that, I had a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure that's what Bree said when she recommended it to me. She was just like, look, I've just read this, I had a really good time. And at the time I think she was recommending it in summertime, but obviously now we're like mid-October so not quite the same vibe, but it's not too summery. It just gives a little bit of like road trip vibes, but you can do that any time of year, I guess. So we'll definitely still recommend picking this up if you want a bit of a break from the spooky reads, maybe. I would say it is a 4-star. I'm just holding this cuppa. I want to drink it. Let's rewind and go back on the books that we read in this video. So the second book that we read was obviously Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier, and I really liked this as well. I think when it comes to sort of like plots of thriller books and what I'm going to remember, I'm definitely going to remember this one for being like one of the first ones that I've read that has extremely dark on-page topics and circumstances just laid out, because that's not something that I'm used to in my thriller books. I wouldn't say it put me off, and I also can't say that it sort of like elevates the thrilling read anymore either, but I don't know, I'm just still looking for that sort of like little bit extra in my thriller books, and I'm not sure when I'm gonna find it, where I'm gonna find it, and what exactly it is I'm looking for. But this was still a really great time, and it was definitely a lot different to what I was expecting going into it, even just sort of like the different sort of locations that we find ourselves in. Being in a prison at the start of the book, wasn't expecting that. Wasn't expecting the courtroom or the courthouse. There was just a lot going on that I wasn't expecting. The ending of this book and what happened was extremely disturbing, but also I don't know if it's a cop-out or if it just makes sense. I'm not sure, but I still enjoyed it. I would say that this is also a 4-star read. Had a great time. And then Miss Khalila, we did in fact read Red Rising, and I'm still really torn about if I want to continue the series or not, because I can appreciate this book for what it is, but just not 100% sure that I'm going to be absolutely obsessed with the series. But since reading this and vlogging it for you guys, I saw that Jamie picked up the second book, Golden Sun, and she said it was brilliant. She said it's way better than this, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just this type of sci-fi that doesn't appeal to me. But the book in itself, like if I take my personal preference out of it and like what I'm looking for in reading, it's kind of like a expansive analysis of community and democracy and a lot of politics and like societal expectations. It's a lot to do with sort of like hierarchy, slavery, people in power, and a lot of that sort of thing, which I really enjoy in my fantasy books. So I think it's probably just this setting that doesn't really work for me. But other than that, we don't really get a romance of sorts, like doesn't play a big part in the plot. My camera died, so I don't know where I was at and what I was saying. You spend a lot of this book within trials, and one trial in particular takes up a huge section of this book and spans over a really long period of time. And I think that's where it can get like a little bit slower, but you're also like in your head about it. And I know that Jamie said this about it not being real, and like you're trying to think about like what the real purpose of this is. Like if these people are meant to be the best of the best, why are we watching this all happen in a trial that's not necessarily real? I don't know. It was just interesting, but I definitely did enjoy like the way that it chose to sort of like deep dive into the way that society is and what it takes to create a society, what it takes to build friendships and a community. Definitely an interesting take on that. But yeah, not sure if this type of sci-fi is absolutely for me. Not sure if I'm going to be continuing the series. Maybe at some point I'll get the urge to do so. But yeah, I think I settled on a 3.5 star for this, and that feels right. Can't remember what I rated it, but that feels right now. So there we have the 3 books that we read this week. I hope you had a good time. I am so thankful that these booktubers and my favourite people to watch online got back to me, gave me their recommendations. I had a lot of fun, and I can definitely see specifically why Khalila loves this. definitely, and I can see why during the summertime Bree was just living loving life on this little road trip. And when it comes to Beth, well, this is dark, so also not surprised that Beth loved that. But yeah, I'm just so grateful that they chose to share something that they love with me, and I got to read it and see their thoughts and how they align with mine. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe you could drop a little cat emoji in the comments if you got it to the very end of this video, because I think I can say that You Were the View was my favourite read of this week. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.